we're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's February 8th here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. And today, I'm wearing hanbok in light of Seollal, which falls this Saturday. How do I look, guys?
You look
great.
absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Well,
So
thank
pretty.
you. And joining me in the studio is Cheska Dain-Hong. Cheska, tell us a little bit more about your outfit.
Yes, so I tried to resemble a bit of the take a modern twist. So I have the little tie that you have in the traditional hanbok. It's kind of a modern twist, and I try to have fun with the hair as well.
Yeah, you braided your hair.
Yes, I
and
did.
then none other than Walter Lee.
And I am replicating what we would usually wear, most comfortable clothes because we just want to chill out.
The true representation of the
Yes,
new
the true
generation.
Exactly.
Representation.
And all of us are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. The National Tax Service on Wednesday found the total income of content creators like YouTubers or internet streamers exceeded over 1 trillion Korean won, or around $753 million. As of 2022, there were 39,366 people who registered themselves as content creators. The number of people who identified themselves with such occupation and their total income has increased year by year. The top 1% who earned the most among content creators earned around $25 million. And from this Valentine's Day, February 14th, all foreign tourists will have to pay around $10 when visiting Indonesia's famous resort island of Bali. This even includes children. Indonesia has decided to tax incoming travelers to improve tourist services as well as better preserve the environment following recent overcrowding incidents. This year alone, Bali is expected to attract 7 million tourists. Last year, the island welcomed 5.2 million travelers. And for the past few weeks, many soccer fans couldn't take their eyes off the screen as Team Korea reached the last four at the Asian Football Confederation Asian Cup in Qatar. The Taeguk Warriors earned the moniker Zombie Footballers for their seemingly unstoppable stamina and performance for each game. But on Tuesday night, Team Korea got knocked out in the semifinals with a 2-0 loss against Jordan. Despite stating that winning the Asian Cup was his goal, the team's head coach, Jurgen Klinsmann, had said he won't step down. At a post-match press conference after the semifinal loss, Klinsmann was asked if he was planning to resign. He answered that he's not planning to do anything, but analyze the last defeat to prepare for the next upcoming games. And fans haven't had the best history with Klinsmann. His tenure with South Korea, which began last March, has been painted with scathing criticism from fans and the media. Football fans often criticize the coach for his decision to spend more time overseas and his ill-timed smiles after opponents score a goal. And this time, Klinsmann is taking bigger blows, mainly because South Korea lost its chance of winning a crown in the Asian Cup against Jordan. Jordan, ranking 87th in the world, had been considered a relatively easy opponent for Team Korea, ranking 23rd in the world, and currently boasting top Asian players like Son Heung-min and other Europe-based stars. And if I bring the newsfeed to the studio, what do you guys think about such news spurring after Team Korea flopped on the international arena? And did you guys watch any AFC matches yourself? And can you really understand just how disappointed fans could be?
Yeah, so as a massive football fan myself, I can definitely understand the disappointment that Korea is feeling at the moment. There was always a lot of criticism going in under Klinsmann because of his playing style and how it doesn't fit to Korea's playing style. He's more of a kind of free range kind of coach, where I think Korea is more of a structured team, and that's what they need very much under Paulo Bento, is a different style. Now, I didn't watch the actual last game that, Korea was in, where we lost against Jordan. But this Asian Cup has been sort of an underdog Asian Cup because we were expecting Iran to win last night, but instead Qatar won.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of ups and downs. Japan also was knocked out, where Japan and Korea were supposed to be the favorites to win the cup. But yes, let's hope that Son Heung-min, our dream captain, gets another chance and possibly get some international gold before he gets too old. But yes, also for Korea, let's hope there is a better future ahead of us.
I think a lot of attention was spurred for the AFC this time around because a lot of people had their hopes up, given that we were a very strong national team this time around. I was a little disappointed myself, but then again, I completely understood given the fact that all of our players and even the coach tried their best. What were your thoughts on the story?
I'm just gonna preface that I'm not the biggest football buff, the European football buff, but I just want to say I've read some comments, and while I do believe, I understand the disappointment of the Korean fan, I've heard that when Paulo Bento first joined the team, he was also grossly sabotaged and criticized by angry fans. But now they call him the Benboji, which is a combination of Bento and father. So again, I don't want to get too into it. But even Sonny said after the Malaysian the game to not react so quickly and make harsh comments for his teammates because they are human beings after all. And if anything, I was actually quite inspired after the Malaysian game because it was the Korean soccer coach Kim Pang-gon that led the team to score in the first time in 17 years in the AFC. So, you know, if anything, I think we should really take some time to appreciate what we can and take a little bit of backseat when it comes to emotionally, you know, reacting too emotionally to certain things.
Exactly, and as Sonny said, as the captain said, we should take his word into account because every single time we have a big match like this at the international arena, I feel like a lot of fans are really disappointed to the point that they drag these players down.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think it's us that should be applauding them and cheering them on, given that they did try their best and trying to bring Korea back to its national prestige. Now, moving on, we're going to switch gears to our main discussion topic. As you can see, I'm wearing such a beautiful hanbok today, and though it's not completely a traditional one with more toned down colors, it is a themed hanbok that also garners a lot of popularity among the young generation, and a lot of people wear hanboks like mine in light of Korean Lunar New Year's Seollal, one of the most important holidays of the year. And starting tomorrow, thousands of Koreans will be wearing such traditional clothing and going to sebae, which is bowing on the ground to our older relatives and wishing them a happy new year. And my AI voice secretary will tell you a bit more about these upcoming holidays.
This year, Seollal falls on February 10. Seollal is one of the most important traditional Korean holidays. As a national holiday lasting for days, it commemorates the first day of the lunar calendar. While Lunar New Year is celebrated in countries across Asia, each country, including Korea, has its own unique customs and traditions. One tradition is to travel back to family homes and meet relatives. Another old tradition is charak, which is setting food and paying respects to one's ancestors. Saju, or fortune telling, is also popular. Watching the first sunrise and kite flying are also some Korean traditions during Seollal.
And this year's Seollal falls on February 10th. To celebrate the Korean Lunar New Year, this time around we have a total of 4 days off, and it all starts from tomorrow. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited to have 4 days off to go see my relatives. How excited are you?
I'm very excited. I mean, I kind of did say on the Christmas season that Christmas is my favorite holiday, but I really do love it for a number of reasons. One, just to tell you guys, it always falls right after my birthday.
Oh, really?
So today is my birthday.
Oh, really?
Really? Happy birthday, Cheska!
This is how close we are. This is how our teamwork is.
Yeah.
No,
I knew that.
Happy birthday, Cheska.
Thank you. But on top of that, it's even more special because I'm starting a quote-unquote another new year after the January 1st. So it's like a new beginning. And you think about how you spent your January. And also for me, I spend a lot of time with my grandparents because all my family is in America. So tomorrow, I'm going to go over and we're going to make dumplings.
That's really nice. I love it when I make dumplings with my grandparents because it really brings the family closer. And there's a saying that if you make a prettier dumpling, you'll have prettier kids. And I remember like competing with my cousins who would have the prettier kid, even though it was just a simple dumpling.
I know.
What about
we
you?
got very competitive
I
too.
know. What about you?
Well, also like Jessica, I have a birthday this year as well, but just not today. So sorry for not, saying happy birthday earlier. But yes, it's always a great time to spend with family and loved ones. For me, though, it's a little bit lonely because a lot of my family lives in Australia. So I do get to spend time with my wife's family and they're very loving and caring and bring me in a lot. But it does give me some times where I'm like, oh, I do miss my family and I want to go home and see them. But, for me, as a freelancer, it's not exactly what I would call a holiday because I still have to work during that time. But I am looking forward to the time spending with my daughter and also my wife's family. So it is a good time of the year anyway.
It is is a great time of the year. It's also one of the most important holidays of the year, given that it's a national holiday. And today we're going to be comparing the years-long Seollal traditions with some more recent ones led by our generation. So Cheska, why don't you start us off by telling us how exactly millennials and Gen Z, including yourself, are planning to enjoy the Lunar New Year holidays this year around?
So one of the things that because of the inflation and the MZers intentional spending, what we call, they're very money savvy, right? The trend is to be, kind of savvy with how they spend their money. So one of the things that they do a lot is they do a lot of online shopping. As you know, we're the thumb generation. So you buy a lot of discounted presents and goods online. So that's one thing that we do. Another thing that we try to do is now they have a lot of single families. So they have small packaging of foods and presents. So our grandparent generation is so used to like the over generous, like feeding them and graciously preparing food until you get so stuffed. I think our generation is more about, quality over quantity. So even if it's a small present, if it shows a little bit of, attention and care, it's better than like having to flood your table with food.
Exactly. So. Walter, would you like to add on?
Yeah, it seems that a lot of people are also becoming more individualistic during the holidays. Even though it is a family gathering holiday, some people, including one of our castmates, is actually going on holiday by herself during this time and not spending time with her family. I mean, she's allowed to, she's an adult, but this is a trend recently where people, use this time to go overseas instead of staying around with their family or going on family trips overseas as well. So they're moving away from that tradition of staying or going to the elders' parents' house. It's also a time where I'm surprised about this. A lot of part-time workers take advantage of this, and some, not all, but some places will give you more money for working on those public holidays. So this is a great time for people who want to save that extra little bit of money over the holiday period by working on those days.
Exactly. So as we saw in the introductory video, though we have many traditions where it includes like ancestral rituals like 차례 or bowing down, doing sepe, or going around the road, and especially during Seollal, the roads are just jam-packed with so many cars. We see a lot of discounts for public transport because the government knows that a lot of people will be moving about. But from our generation, I do think we're spending a lot of individual time, whether that be trying to earn more money or just going on vacay, like doing international travel. And because of such changes in behavior, we've also seen consumer trends and spending patterns change, especially during the holidays. So Cheska, walk us through.
Yes, as you mentioned, I think traveling is one of the big things that people spend a lot of money on also. But so there's a phrase called in Korea, 민족 대이동, which means the national grand movement. So basically the entire nation sort of moves to their homes and countryside. So the roads get heavily clustered. But since COVID, there was definitely a transition of how families try to gather and try to not only save money, but also save time. So one of the things they do is, I also remember having like Zoom calls with my grandparents, even though we both lived in Seoul City. And for 차례, which is the grand setup of all the amazing food that we prepare to celebrate with the ancestors. Now, MZs display very unique food that usually aren't the typical 차례 food. So they put like cookies or like macarons even, that are like shaped.
It's like fusion food, basically. Yeah.
Walter, you seem a little disgusted by
No, I'm just like, it's a great dessert, of course.
And in our family, we also do like cakes always after the 차례 food. So, and they're using like iPads to replace like traditional setup. So they're getting very creative in terms of not only saving money, but also being very efficient.
I think it's customization. That's another key word that really describes our generation. And traditionally, 차례 food, it's usually preparing food that our ancestors would like. But then nowadays, our ancestors might be having a modern taste.
Maybe they might like the taste of chocolate macaron.
Exactly. Maybe they'll want to try what's in France or something. What about you, Walter? Would you like to add on?
Yeah, so it kind of goes on with saving money, but some companies and co-workers, they give gifts to their employees during this time. A lot of examples are like big spam gifts or shampoo sets or whatever. Now, a funny trend amongst our MZ generation is that they're actually selling off those gifts and they decide to save the money for themselves. I know I've actually recycled gifts that I've gotten from companies before.
What?
Yes. To give to my parents-in-law. That's okay. They're not watching because they're too busy on the way here, actually. And that saved us from buying them something. So yes, saving that money as well was really good. Am I cheap? Yes. But like I mentioned, it was a product that I would use.
Money savvy.
Yeah, money savvy.
Money
Yes.
savvy, yeah.
Now, another tradition that has seemed to change is the sebetton, right? So the money that is given when you're exchanging the elders to the youngers, right? Now, these days, obviously, with the thumb generation, we're deciding to do a lot of our transactions online rather than give them a personal
bank
envelope.
yeah.
Exactly. So it seems that people are maybe getting more creative or a little lazy and just deciding.
Or efficient.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if you have to bow while they're making the transaction, but yes, it's changing these days through technology.
Do you guys remember the good old days when we used to all wear hanboks like mine and there was a 복주머니, there was like a pocket. Yeah, and then once you get the money envelopes from your elders, like you would go to a different room, check the money, and then put it back in your pocket just for the sake of it. Now, we've talked about all the festive sides about this holiday, but many millennials and Gen Z also find it to be a time when it could be quite stressful and even burdensome. Now, could you relate to this?
Luckily, my family is in New York and we live pretty much very far apart. Them on the East Coast and me on the West Coast. So we never let our grandparents or even parents get to us. But even in our family, at least the grandparents' generation, the women do all the work and they do have a little bit of family lecture time that kind of goes on. So from my friends, I've heard of the so-called 명절 스트레스, which means stress on national holidays. So let's find out what ruins the mood for this celebratory day. So when asked some of the reasons for being stressed out during this festive family holidays, the top reasons were, the predominant top one was the family lecture season on careers. What kind of jobs are you having? Where's your future headed in life? Closely followed by relatives and parents asking about, when are you going to get married? Who are you dating? Why are you dating? And the rest were actually very low, almost in a single digit. So we can clearly see that it's the parents and the families and the lecture that actually causes a bit more stress than having to work on a national holiday or having to actually spend money on national holidays.
And maybe these may be the reasons why you guys explained that we're seeing a new trend of new generation actually leading on different holiday traditions. Now we're going to switch gears to our viewers' comments now. We asked our viewers if they also felt like the traditional holidays have evolved over time, especially from our generation. If you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with Ramsey. Ramsey said holidays are now too commercialized. Like it's always the Christmas sale that flashes through the screens rather than the essence of Christmas. Also before, Christmas parties served as reunions for families who haven't seen each other for a while now mostly people just meet their relatives online. There said in the Philippines, the atmosphere of the Christmas season is different because in the past it was much more fun and noisier, bigger, and back then. Maybe because people choose a quiet and simple celebration nowadays. In most Portuguese high schools, there are 3 terms and they all finish with 3 vacations, Christmas, Easter, and summer vacay. And as these dates are quite religious, there are some schools changing to semesters, so there are some random vacation weeks, and that was from Evel Perino. Now, the Lunar New Year holidays definitely hold so much significance to many Koreans. While most will be busy on the roads going to visit their relatives, there's some 2.2 million foreign residents in Korea who experience the holidays in a somewhat different way, and we're going to be hearing from one through a live interview. We're now going to connect to Nina Rosted, a Finnish Gen Z living in South Korea. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Nina, we'd like to ask how long it's been since you've lived in Korea and what you usually do during this time of the year for the Lunar New Year holidays.
So I believe I've stayed here for about 5 years now, which is a pretty long time. And I used to do a homestay back in high school. So I still keep in contact with that family, actually, like a Korean family. And they invited me to join their Seollal and Chuseok, I think last year and the year before. So I had the chance to experience more like a Korean way of like eating good food and meeting all the family I didn't even know existed. But I'd say most holidays in Korea, I just spent time with my other foreign friends or alone even.
And you know, as you may know, Seollal is the Lunar New Year, which is usually celebrated in a lot of Asian countries. But we are really curious, well, how is it different in the Finland when they celebrate the New Year compared to here in South Korea?
So we don't have a Lunar New Year. We only have the like 1st of January. And for us, Christmas is more about like family, like Seollal in Korea. And the New Year's is you either spend it with your family or you might have a party with your friends. But one thing we do is we actually do fortune telling too. What we do is we take a piece of metal and we melt it and then pour it into cold water. And then the shape that it takes will actually tell the fortune of your upcoming year. So that's a similarity and a difference at the same time.
That's really cool.
And Walter, would you like to ask the last question?
Yeah, do you have actually any special plans for this holiday?
Well, actually, my birthday also falls on the eve this year, so I will be celebrating.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to you too.
All right, it's a double special day for
It
you.
is.
Now have a wonderful Seollal. It was a pleasure talking to you today, Nina.
Thank you. You too.
All right, and ending off, why don't we share our greetings for us? Because we won't be able to see each other for 4 whole days.
No, you seem so excited.
I know, but what would you like to say in light of Seollal? Would you like to greet each other or like wish each other anything, starting with you, Walter?
Well, I'm just looking forward to spending time with my wife's family and obviously my daughter, and I hope that everyone around Korea is also going to spend time with their loved ones. It doesn't have to be particularly their family, just someone who's very special to them.
All right, what about you, Cheska?
You know, it's the blue dragon year, so I hope everyone soars high like the dragon.
All right, and I would like to say, I'd like to teach you guys a Korean phrase. It's 새해 복 많이 받으세요. And this is a usual greeting that we say during this time around, greeting you and wishing you the best year. Even though we had our New Year, it's Lunar New Year, so hopefully you can start off new. And in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Cheska Dainha,
새해 복 많이 받으세요.
많이 받으세요, and Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a wonderful Lunar New Year holiday, and we'll see you next week. We are
News Generation.